Alex Pereira versus Jiri Prochazka 2, the rematch just took place in the main event of UFC 303, and Alex Pereira finishes Jiri Prochazka by head kick TKO in round 2, which is just insane to add to the list of ways he's been doing these light heavyweights since he moved up. You can now add on to Alex Pereira's resume Jiri Prochazka TKO via head kick, which is insane. However, let's be real, the KO basically wasn't by head kick. It was by left hook at the end of the first round. Jiri came out in the second, and essentially the next good, clean shot he got hit by just put him away because he had just been really badly switched off at the end of the first. Saved by the bell at the end of the first round, really, which is why when you saw the head kick, it wasn't like Edwards wrapping his shin around Usman's dome. You know what I mean? It wasn't one of those types of head kicks. It was like a flicky, just get contact made type of head kick right up the side of Jiri's head. And as soon as it touched him, Jiri just folded because, again, saved by the bell at the end of the first round. He lunged in at the end of the first, trying to make a big thing happen. I don't know why. Because he had clearly lost the entire first round. So even if, unless he would have knocked down Pereira at the end of it, there's no way he gets the round back. So it seemed a little bit of so much risk for so little chance at reward. However, that is Jiri's style. So he gets dropped by a left hook at the end of the first round, doesn't know where he is, starts trying to beckon Pereira into his guard. Pereira knows the round has ended. The horn of the end of the round has sounded, and Jiri's on his back like, come on then. So he has no idea where he's at for a second. He's clearly been spun by the left hook. And then he even starts complaining with the ref, Herb Dean, over like, whoa, why'd you stop that almost? And then he gets back up like, oh shit, no, I've got another round to go out to. And then in the second round, he gets head kicked. And I will say, late fucking stoppage. I know they don't like complaints about early stoppages, but it felt like this one was to spite Jiri and anyone who said the first fight could be early. It was like, dude, no matter how this goes, he dies. There's no early stoppage complaints this time. And they let Jiri take a bit of a pasting on the ground after getting dropped by that head kick. So, nasty stuff from Alex Pereira. He can add that to his legacy. Jiri Prochazka, TKO via head kick. Add it on to the left hook KO of Jiri Prochazka in the first fight, to the left hook KO of Jamal Hill, a KO over Adesanya, a KO over Strickland, a win over Jan Blachowicz, who did pretty well in hindsight, but they were at altitude. It was his first time at light heavyweight. There are some asterisks there. Jan also successfully grappled early because he's not retarded, unlike everyone else I listed. It's all good, though. Adesanya also grappled as well a little bit. But either way, Alex wins. I'm just so sad about it, yeah, because as a Jiri fan and as a Jiri enjoyer, when he wins, yeah, he is the most badass fighter ever. When Jiri wins, it's like, wow, he's so badass. I'm going to say this right now. When Jiri loses, he looks like a fucking fool. And it hurts me to see that, because that's going to be a lot of people's impression of Jiri now. And that hurts me, because he looked like such a fool out there. And it's sad to say that, but it is what it is, isn't it? I picked Jiri, and I'll come clean on that. I picked Jiri. It's not like I'm going to come clean, like it's hidden. I put a prediction video up and I picked Jiri. I thought he would grapple a bit. I thought he would mix it in a bit. I thought he'd work the clinch a bit. And he did try and work the clinch in the first round, but Jiri did great in the first fight against Alex Pereira. You know what I mean? He was up in that fight. Like, he arguably could have won the first, but I get it if you want to give it to Pereira based on low kicks. But other than the low kicks, Pereira ain't land shit on Jiri in the first round of their first fight. And in round 2, Jiri's like going at him, beating him the whole round, and then Pereira catches him. That was the fight. So I was like, okay, Jiri had a year and a half off, worst shoulder injury we've ever seen in the sport. If he can be better than that for this one, and Pereira's been in Australia on a world tour, I reckon Jiri can get this one. So I was picking Jiri on the odds that, okay, this one's a much better situation for him. He's not going to be a year and a half out of the octagon. He's not going to be coming off the worst shoulder injury we've ever seen in UFC history. He's going to be confident. He's gone straight back to training after the Rakic win. Let's get him back in there. I think he'll win this one. But although he did better at dealing with the low kicks in terms of not getting taken off his feet by them, when he loses, he looks like a fool. And that's what hurts me a lot, because Let me give Pereira a bit more praise first. Because if I picked Pereira, I could say all of this, but I didn't, so. Pereira, amazing. Great. Jones has never done that to one light heavyweight contender ever. I saw someone post a picture of the DC fight. It's a no contest because he tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs. We don't do that for anyone else but John Jones. But you somehow allow that. But Jones has never done that to a contender ever. Jones was decisioning Anthony Smith. That's Roman Dolidze shit. You know what I mean? This is different. He's smoking these guys. And fair enough, these guys that have been doing MMA for literally a decade longer than him are just like walking into him on the feet. But it's still very impressive from Alex Pereira. It really is. Now, Alex Pereira will go down as a GOAT of the sport. Dangerous for anyone. Even I think he's more dangerous for Aspinall now as well. I was one of these guys that thought Jones and Aspinall would ragdoll him, especially Aspinall. Jones is risky, but you know. So I was thinking, okay, but now I'm thinking, you know what? Jones might get smoked by this guy. I don't want to see it because I know it's a way out, and that's what Jones fans are now doing. They're doing, dude, who wants to see this one? That's what they're doing now about Pereira Jones because they want to give Jones a way out of the Aspinall fight. It's what they've been doing for the start. It's a big cope from them. I don't know why they're doing it. They're all gay, I guess. But Alex Pereira's phenomenal, dude. And I don't even know if I'd confidently pick Aspinall anymore. That's the level we're getting to with Pereira. He's dangerous. He hits you once, you switch off. At light heavyweight, that is. At middleweight, he can hit you. He can switch you off. But I feel like at middleweight, he was just, like, he couldn't even think out there. He was so dehydrated. Such a corpse of himself. Gangling about. I mean, at light heavyweight, he's set in his stance. Like that. He's set in his stance. He's plodding. He's like a marching soldier. At middleweight, he's floating a bit. He's all gangly and loose and like there to be hit a lot more than he was at light heavyweight. So I think he's a light heavyweight. I think middleweight for him is just a hindrance to his performance, in all honesty. A lot of people are saying, dude, how good is Adesanya? Like, at light heavyweight, Adesanya's getting taken out in about 3 minutes. I truly believe that. Pereira would just fucking absolutely obliterate him at light heavy. But, yeah, dude, it's just crazy to me. And I've given Pereira his praise. Amazing win. I think he even set up the head kick by going to the body with front kicks in that fight. I watched it a little bit back. He was going to the body with some kicks on Jiri. But in my opinion, Jiri should have been, after just being dropped badly at the end of the first, basically switched off, he should have been thinking, let him kick my body. You know what I mean? I'm keeping my guard up to protect my head. But no, Yuri's hands are like, I think when the kick landed, Yuri's hands were by waist level and then like out a bit. Like he was, I don't know how to explain the position his hands were in when he got KO'd. It was like he was just corpse zombie guarding, as they call it when Pereira does it, but from his waist outwards. Really odd defense to have after being dropped. But he just got dropped, so maybe he wasn't thinking too straight. And Alex Pereira puts him away. I do want to say this, though, and I will end the video with this. And we'll get into this topic. I think Pereira's going to smoke everyone. Don't know who can beat him. And I'm going to say this. It's a shame on the entire sport that he's succeeding in this way. And we have to come to terms with that. This man is embarrassing the entire sport of MMA. He's embarrassing the entire sport. You're a purist kickboxer. You've been doing this for 3 years. These guys have been doing it since, I mean, Jiri had an amateur MMA fight in 2012. So he's been learning grappling since what, 2010? 14 years. These guys have a decade of experience over Alex Pereira. And they are not ragdolling him. Now, I know that physicality comes into things. Yuri's a fucking physical beast. Jamal Hill is a physically incredibly strong guy. And I know Jamal didn't even try and Jiri barely tried. He sort of looked for an advantage in the clinch rather than shooting a takedown there because he just sort of ended up in a position where it was safer to try and go for the clinch than it was to keep striking with Pereira in that first round. But it's an embarrassment on the entire sport of MMA that this guy is succeeding. He should have been exposed. Absolutely he should have been, if the sport is to be respected in any way. Turns out the sport isn't. And that's a sad pill to swallow. Now, I'm a Pereira fan. I was rooting for him for a long time, and I'm still rooting for him now. I just Picked against him once. How dare I? I'm not allowed to have a different pick. When it's right, I'm a genius. When it's wrong, I'm a retard for doing it, even though no one had that energy before going into the fight. A lot of people were saying, yeah, I could see Jiri doing it. I could see it. You know what I mean? It is what it is. It's the world that we're in. It's an embarrassment that these guys aren't ragdolling him. They're retarded people. They're spastics. It's an embarrassment that they ain't got their right hand by their chin when they're throwing their shots. That's day one. Any combat sport, bring your hand back to your chin. Now, I know in MMA, a lot of people say, oh, well, threat of the takedown, you can't do that. That's why they have their hands down. That's why they've got such bad defense, because boxers would point at MMA and say, look at the way they're throwing punches and defending. This is awful. You could never do that in boxing. And then MMA fighters say, yeah, but head kicks and they've got to keep their hands low because of takedowns. You don't understand striking in MMA. And I get that. Against Pereira, though, it's the one time I think you can keep your hands up a bit and not have your fucking right hand by your waist when you're throwing shots. And it is an embarrassment on MMA. It is a fucking shame to the entire sport. Pereira is a goat. He is dominant. He's a beast of a man. I absolutely understand that. Full credit in the world. We have to start having the conversation. These guys aren't top level anything. They really aren't. They're just odd jobs from other athletic endeavors that found this. And that's what it comes to. A lot of them are retarded with Down syndrome. I'd love to have a chromosome counter on the tail of the tape or an IQ test. I'd love it because we've had 3 fighters now that have had a chance to build their legacy off of Alex Pereira. We've had Jiri Prochazka, we've had Jamal Hill, and we've had Sean Strickland. Jan Blachowicz grappled in the first round hard. He went for it. He really wanted that takedown with aggression. I know it was at altitude. I know it was Pereira's first time up a weight class, but he dominated that round. If that was Chimaev that did what Blachowicz did to Pereira, they would have given him a 10-8. Okay? They would have. That's exactly what Chimaev did to Usman. But Jan Blachowicz had the back the whole round as well. So I get it. But we saw Jan Blachowicz do that, and then he had more success in the second and the third round. Even got a takedown in the third round as well. We see Jiri lunging into the pocket with his right hand by his waist. And there was a part of me that thought, okay, Yuri's goofy, but there's an educatedness to it. Because when he fought Pereira the first time, yeah, his guard was down, but he was still out of distance of that. He was almost baiting out the left hook first before he would even make his move. He would move in, throw nothing, kind of wait, do this little momentum sort of groove that he would do, and then loop out. There's the left hook. Okay, now I can start throwing my shots. And it was educated. Eventually it wasn't, and he did get TKO'd. But it is remarkable to me. I'm spitting everywhere. It's remarkable to watch the elite of the elite. This is supposed to be the light heavyweight world championship, guys. And I'm watching Jiri Prochazka, and this is why I'm sad for Jiri, because when it works, he's great. When he loses, he looks like a retard. And that really hurts me, because I'm a big Jiri enjoyer. And he's bolting in with a second to go at the end of the first. You're not going to win the round back for yourself. And he's bolting in with his chin as high in the air as it can be. Lead hand doing what? And his rear hand is by his fucking waist. Jamal Hill, same thing. Didn't even shoot a takedown. I'm going to strike with him. Oh, pure kickboxer, the best we've ever seen. I'll just strike with him. These guys are retards, man. Strickland, you're an MMA grappler. You can grapple. We know you can offensively grapple. Oh, I'm going to just strike with Alex Pereira. Let me walk towards Pereira, bringing my hands away from my face as much as I fucking possibly can. Retards. This isn't an elite sport. And I'm realizing that more and more. And I've realized that Pereira's legacy that made him a GOAT, I mean, the Adesanya win does a lot for him, and the Blachowicz win does a lot for him. But the wins that are really doing a lot for him are Jiri, Jamal Hill, and Strickland. And in these wins, the people that have a decade at least of experience over him in mixed martial arts, including a grappling element of it. I know that he also does grappling, but so does Jiri, and so does Jamal Hill, and so does Strickland. They train it all the time. That's what MMA fighters do, right? If they don't, then it's a joke of a sport. And I'm not coping here. I'm being serious. This shit don't happen in boxing. We ain't see Usyk being like, I'm going to try and jab at range with Fury for 12 rounds. No. Doesn't happen. And that's why people enjoy that. You know what I mean? We don't see in basketball the I'm going to do this, even though it doesn't benefit me or my entire team at all. At all. And if you do see that, they're on the fucking Detroit Pistons. You know what I mean? But in MMA, at the elite levels, we've had 3 in a row. Not in a row. Minorly separated here. Very, very minorly separated from each other. We've had shot, and I don't mean minorly separated like Dr. Disrespect should be. I mean, Jiri twice, Hill once, Strickland. These are 3 core wins to Pereira's legacy. And they've gone out there against a glory kickboxing GOAT that's now come over to MMA, that's most dangerous weapon is a left hook. And they have walked towards him, bringing their right hand away from their chin as often as they fucking can. And I know people are saying, oh, but Pereira sets it up. I get it, he does. But when I see Jiri get hit with that left hook and he's darted in, you know you're darting into a man with the nastiest left hook in maybe combat sports. Have your right hand by your chin. Elite level fighter. Championship level guy that's giving this guy GOAT status. This is the win that gets GOAT status. Sean Strickland. Just plodding forward. You can grapple. You can. Andreas Michailidis controlled this guy for a round by going into that Strickland fight. He was one Bruno Silva fight removed in that time, a couple of months. And Strickland's walking towards him. I'm going to prove a point, man. Slept. Jiri Prochazka lunges in, right hand by his waist. Did it in the first fight, did it in the second fight. And I know people are going to say, why'd you pick him then? I just thought maybe he'd have a brain. I thought maybe he'd grapple. I thought maybe he'd push to grappling. And maybe he would not lunge in with a second to go. And I think the reason he got KO'd in the second was because he got dropped at the end of the first. I think he probably could have eaten a head kick like that in the second. Not saying he definitely would have, but I think definitely he was going to go down to the next clean thing that landed to him after taking that shot at the end of the first. You have to admit, the fight was lost by the end of the first round. It was like Whittaker versus Adesanya 1. And I'm thinking, dude, Jiri, you're 30 in this record in MMA. You started amateur competing in 2012. You no doubt trained for a few years before that. What are we doing? What are we doing, man? Jamal Hill. You've had the MMA advantage over this guy. There's legacy to be had. There's GOAT status on the line. You can get him. You can win the belt. I'm going to try and strike with him to prove a point. He's making a mockery of the whole sport, man. Because you retards are just like... You've all got Down syndrome. You have. There's no other way. This is not in boxing. Bivol's going to fight Bertabiev soon. He's never going to be like, I'm going to prove a point and scrap in the pocket with him. And in boxing, there's less options to win. And they still won't do some dumb shit like that. So I now get why people like other sports. And I get why a lot of people look down on MMA. A lot of these guys are retards out there, man. But Pereira win. Phenomenal win from Pereira. And if Jiri had clipped him, I'd be saying a different thing. But reason with me here, man. The fuck are these guys doing at the top of this? It just... When I see his name at this pound for pound, And I see these opponents as like number 1 in the world, number 2 in the world, this guy. And I'm watching him out there fight like the most special needs motherfuckers against a pure kickboxer. Let me test my stand-up. Oh, man. It is hurt. It really harms to watch. But great win from Pereira. I just needed to vent that feeling that I've been having about the sport recently, man. I'm watching some of these high-level fights and I'm thinking, especially above like welterweight, you know, like when you get to middleweight and we get to, more importantly, light heavyweight and heavyweight, right? They are the embarrassments. And it's just, ugh, you know? But great win from Pereira. He can only fight who's in front of him. I just think it sucks for Jiri because, dude, Yuri's the type of guy where if he loses a couple times by TKO, there's going to be a slide. There's going to be a slide for Jiri, man. He's lost a couple times by TKO now. Got KO'd a while ago, but he sort of rebuilt. He's been chinned twice in his last 3 fights. Nearly got chinned by Rakic. And it's just like, fuck, once it breaks, it's gone. And I'm worried that Jiri will never get a win again. I'm really worried about that. So, great win from Alex Pereira. An embarrassing night for the sport in general. But phenomenal for Pereira. And phenomenal for what's next for Pereira. Maybe he fights Ankalaev. Who knows? I think Jiri should maybe fight Jamal Hill if they both wait until like December, earliest for Jiri. We'll see. But yeah, like and subscribe. Let me know what you think about that take. It's just kind of weird, right? We're at the elite level of the sport. The best in the world are fighting each other. And they're not doing their best chance of winning. Here, let me tell you it again. There's 8 billion people on Earth. In Alex Pereira's last 2, including the Strickland fight, Jamal Hill fight, Strickland fight, the fights that he's having in those fights are amongst the top 5 fighters in the entire world in that weight class. 8 billion people. Those are the best there are in terms of mixed martial arts fighters. And 3 of them, in Strickland, Jamal Hill, and Jiri, have just intentionally taken the path of most resistance to give themselves the least chance possible to win. And this is an elite level sport that should be taken seriously. Embarrassment. An embarrassment. Like and subscribe. These guys. I'm going to strike with him. What? You doing? It's an MMA fight, Strickland. You're walking into him. You retard. You fucking retard. Jamal Hill. It's an MMA fight, man. You got 10 years of experience over this fucking guy. You started amateur at 2012. This guy started in 2021. He was a full-time pro kickboxer in September of 2021. And you're walking into him with your right hand by your fucking waist. Lose my fucking mind, bruv. This guy's a goat of the sport and there's silver platter in it for him. Sorry. Pereira's great. But holy fuck, sometimes there's a fighter that comes around, yeah, where it almost speaks so negatively on the division that he's succeeding in. Hill, Jiri, Strickland. A decade of grappling experience you have over this guy. You're walking in with your right hand by he's not going to shoot a double leg on you, Pereira. No way is Pereira going to shoot a double leg on you. You know that. It's the one fighter who's not in the whole fucking sport, maybe. You know he's got a dangerous left hook. 2 things. All your career, you see Pereira's champ and you think, okay, I'm going to think about how I do in this matchup. So he's a pure kickboxer, the greatest we've ever seen. He's never going to shoot a double leg. And his nasty left hook is his best move. I know, I'll run in with my right hand by my waist. They're retarded, these people. They got Down syndrome. And I'm just going to go off fight IQ. No feelings, no vibes, no preparation no this guy might be injured, no intricate detail of, oh, look at the first fight. I'm just going to go off of who can I trust to be less Down syndrome. And I'm going to just pick him. So that's my game plan from now on. See you later, guys. Thank you for watching. Great win from Pereira. He probably beats everyone. Jones and Aspinall are his problems. And I think they both beat him. And I think people are trying to talk about the Jones fight to give Jones an out from fighting Aspinall, but maybe Aspinall will lose to Blades and nothing will make sense. So we'll see. See you later, guys. Goodbye.